Hello, it's Polly from the Dream Printing Podcast. I have a very special guest today. You're going to love her. We're talking about redeeming your time. So Lissa is not a time management coach. She's an untime management coach. She teaches you about stewarding your time. She is so amazing. If you've been feeling like you're not enough, or you've been feeling like you don't have enough time, this interview is going to bless you. She's the creator of the Redeem Your Time Planner. She is the host of the Redeem Her Time podcast. And we have a great conversation. We also look at her Redeem Your Time Planner. She made a planner inside of Print School. So we're going to walk through her process and how that's all come about. We talk about her launch day and what that looked like. And so you're going to absolutely love it. All of her information is also down below. And at the end, she actually gave us a free gift. So that free gift will be also extended to you. Now, if you are interested in printing a product like Lissa, you can join Print School, my signature program. We have a free workshop you can check out at horacioprinting.com/workshop. Here is the link right here, horacioprinting.com/workshop, where I go through the dream printing method, how to take your idea out of your head and into your hands. So be sure to go check that out. That's free for you. But without further ado, let's dive into this interview. Hi, and welcome back. I am so excited. I have Lissa Figgins from Redeem Her Time. She is amazing. She's a Print School student, alumni, and we're going to dive into her story of creating her beautiful paper product. And I'm just so excited. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Polly. Before we hit record, I was just saying it's so surreal to have a conversation with you, when I've gotten to listen to you, not only on your podcast, but also through Print School and Launch School. Like, you were with me every step of the way. Thank you. And so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to be able to pour back out into your audience and share a little bit of my story.
Yeah, so introduce yourself. Obviously, I said you're Lissa from Redeem Her Time. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then go ahead and share with us what you've created.
Yeah, so my name is Lissa Figgins. It's Melissa without the M-E because it's not about me. And I am an untime management strategist for Christian midlife busyness owners, right? Like, busyness owners are people who are busy doing a lot of what we feel like are business things, but not always seeing the results in our bank account. And so what I do is I come alongside women and say, you know what? We are not called to be managers of our time. We are actually called to be stewards. And so I help them to resign from managing time as this limited resource. To manage time literally means to keep it contained and under control. Let's be honest. It's like whack-a-mole game you're playing all day long. You're never going to win. It's fruitless. It's exhausting. And instead, approach time the way God has called us to, as wise CEOs. And I have redefined that as a Christ-empowered operator of the life or business or ministry that God's given you. And he gives us time as this abundant gift that we get to receive. And then because it's been entrusted to us, now we invest it on his behalf, right? It's like the parable of the talents, AKA the servants in Matthew 25, the guy who tried to contain and manage his talent, right? And was told, you wicked and lazy servant. And the other two who understood that it was entrusted to them to go and produce abundant fruitfulness for the master. And that's really what I see our time as. So I wish I could say I always approach time this way. I am a recovering busyness owner. I was addicted to controlling time and multitasking and always doing. And here's the thing, Polly, like, ever since grade school, I've had time management tools. I've had a planner. I was the girl who would write down something in her assignment notebook or her planner that she already did just for the satisfaction of crossing it off. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was still really busy, even though I had all these tools to organize my time, and I wasn't ever really fully present. I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate. Like, you're in the room, but you're not really in the room, especially with kids and, spouse or things like that. And so I really, for a long time, just ignored the signs. Like that mom guilt, right? Or the should do guilt. Like, when I'm with my family, I should be doing these things for my business. When I'm working my business, I should be with my family. And then literally the signs my body was showing me, which was, it started in my stomach, like that pit, because you feel like you're just always behind. And then the tension in your shoulders.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like this ball in my throat. And I ignored it for over a year. Finally decided there might be something growing in there I better check out, or it was going to cost me a lot. And long story short, the guy sat me down after scoping and said, Lissa, you have hystericus globus. Globus, sensation of a ball, globe, hystericus. And he like swirls his finger next to his head. He's like, it's all in your head. You have anxiety around all the stuff you're doing. And that's why you feel like you have this, like you can't swallow. And so, like, it was really through that God showed me it wasn't about just, quote, managing my time and getting everything nice and neat and organized in my planners, because it was really that I had this disordered heart. And I was chasing after all these lesser things. And I was chasing after my not enoughness. Like my time was never enough. Can you relate? My doing was never enough. I was never enough. And so, anyway, long story short, it was just like God showed me that, like, the struggles we have around time are not just found in, putting things in a pretty planner, although I love your planner and I'll share when I found that and how it helped me. But it's really about rightly ordering our heart around what he's called us to in this season and the time he's entrusted to us, and not wearing busy like a badge of honor, right? And so Redeem Her Time was literally born in the pew when my pastor was preaching from Ephesians, and my brain immediately went to Ephesians 5:15-16 that says, look carefully how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, redeeming the time, making the most of the opportunity, because these are difficult days. Amen to some difficult days. It takes attention and intention and implementation, which is why I even have a screensaver that reminds you, like, of that verse. And because this is a number one time suck right now, that our hearts are ordered, are disordered after a lot of things that we think we're going to chase on our screens and such. So that's kind of a little bit about me and my journey and Redeem Her Time, and, really helping women to rightly order their heart first, and then it overflows into their calendar. Like they have to shift from believing I don't have time to you do have time. God gives you 24 hours every day. Now the question is, how are you going to invest it? From being that manager who's trying to keep it under control to being a steward, like who understands this has been given to me to invest on his behalf. And then really from stopping asking the question, what the number one question is that people ask when they look at their clock or their phone or their, the number on the, on their screen, what time is it? And they're like, immediately, like the shoulders go up and you're like ready to jump mode. What am I behind on? Where am I supposed to be? Right? Like, what am I supposed to have gotten done? And I really help women to shift and ask the question, what is it time for? Like just that, like slowing down to like the presence and purpose of our time. And so, herein lies the planner that you helped me create.
Wow. Well, you just ministered to me so much. I think the not enoughness really hit home. That's definitely been I call that my table I've carried around for many years. I had a lot of evidence to hold up that table, lots of table legs, strengthening that table from grade school, right? And so it's so easy to chase after things and accolades and, trying to live and play in your strengths to try to overcome that and overcompensate that. And just living in the truth that you're loved. That's really hard, when we've been so ingrained with our not enoughness. I love what you said about a disordered heart. If we don't take time to reflect on the condition of our heart, we will bear disordered fruit. Like the condition of your heart will manifest the condition of your dreams and your goals and your time and your schedule.
And our time will be scattered to all the squirrels and shiny objects, right? Because we don't really know what we're called to.
And I love that you said it was born in the pew. That was so visual. Like, I've had a lot of dreams born in the pew. I've never thought about that language.
Yeah, like on the back of the bulletin, legit, remember writing it out and wrote down Redeem Her Time. Like, and I told my pastor, I get my best ideas during your sermons. I am listening, but it's 1,000%. Like in that place.
I almost felt guilty for it because I felt like it was like, oh, I feel bad that I'm writing things down about my business while I'm at church. But God just downloads so much, whether it's in worship and stuff. And it makes sense. Like, it's born in the pew, duh. Like, it just makes so much sense that that's a place where we would get these beautiful downloads. We can get them in our home. We can get them elsewhere. But God pours into his people, and he inhabits the praises of his people. And in a house of praise, like, we're going to have dreams because he's the dream giver. And so that's just beautiful. So that's amazing. You obviously have your own podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
The
So
Redeem Her Time podcast.
Redeem Her Time podcast. So you guys it's obvious this is not your first podcast rodeo. So if you guys like this messages and you want to hear more about her story, go to Redeem Her Time. Go ahead and subscribe to her podcast. You're obviously going to be blessed by it. I'm sure you teach all kinds of amazing episodes on how to redeem your time. And I have so many questions. Here's some questions for you. What's the opposite of redeeming your time?
Oh, this is a great question. I feel like time and money have so many parallels.
Yeah.
And they both fall under stewardship, right?
Yeah.
Our time and our treasure, as well as our talents. Those are the three T's that we're given to steward. And so we have three choices. Think about with your money. You can waste your money, you can spend your money, or you can invest your money. Right. And there's a very different outcome for each one of those, right? We waste it on all kinds of random things because in the moment we thought we needed that thing at Target or that thing on Amazon or whatever it is. Let's be honest, right? We can spend it. And then, yes, maybe it was something that, did feel important in the time, but, it's just money that went out, not a whole lot coming back to us, except maybe a cute pair of shoes or, lunch out or whatever. But when we invest our money, we are getting a return, right? And so when it comes to time, that's the same thing. And one of the things I teach is that the results you have in any area of your life, whether it's your faith walk, your family or friendship relationships, your business or ministry, your wellness, your money, your passions, your home, is the consequence, good, bad, or indifferent, of how you've chosen to invest time up till now. Yep. Right? I call it RODI, return on time invested. So if you are sowing seeds of scatteredness and randomness and less than or not enoughness or whatever, you're essentially wasting time because you're not going to produce any kind of fruit or the kind of fruit that you're really desiring, right? But it's when we're intentional. And I often use the illustration of being a wise farmer. Farmers don't just randomly scatter seed at whatever time they feel like it and hope they're going to get this giant harvest. Like they understand when I sow the seed, I start this growth process and it takes time, right? Nobody sows the seed one day and expects the fruit the next day. But in due time, right, when it's the right time, I will produce a harvest that is larger than what I put in. That one seed produces many times more. And so it's called the laws of the harvest. And that's actually one of the things I teach. And I create a little resource for your community because It's how do we approach time as seeing like our time as these seeds that we are entrusted to plant in the fields where he's called us to, whether that's your life, your business, your ministry, your relationships, your health, right? And trust him with that growth process. Yeah. In his due time, which is not always the same as ours, when that's even part of my planner story, we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. I mean, that's coming straight from Galatians. And so all that to say, I think the opposite of redeeming time is essentially just wasting or spending time, like it's not really investing it where it's going to produce fruit to build the kingdom.
What would you say is the biggest, maybe silent killer or pitfall we could fall into for wasting time beyond the not enoughness?
Yeah. Right here, this digital device that's like our extra appendage. Okay, get the math on this, Polly. The average person in 2025 spends 4 hours and 37 minutes a day on their phone. So I did the math because I used to be a math teacher. I was like, I wonder what that is over a year. When you account for the time you sleep, which hopefully you're not on your phone during those hours, it is just shy of 100 days of your life, on average, is going to a device. Some people are double that. Could you imagine 200 days out of your 365, almost half your life going to a device? Like, this is one of those things that it's like, it just sucks us right in. And once you get in there, you know how it is. You get in a scroll hole and an hour passes before you even realize it. And so that's why I created that screensaver, because it literally has that verse on the front and it has the question, what is it time for? Phone or no phone? Because we have to be discerning. And that's what Ephesians 5 is about, is like, look carefully how you live. You have to be paying attention, not as unwise, but as wise, right? Yeah. Is this a wise use of my time? Is this going to produce the fruit that's going to, grow the thing that God's given me to grow? Or is this just going to waste it?
That's so good.
Our phone is really that tangible place. Go look at your screen time. And here's what I say. Whenever you think I don't have time, or I ran out of time, or if I have time, if only I had time, when I have time, like thinking when your kids grow up, you're going to have more time. I'm here to tell you it just looks different. And life is actually busier in a different way when your kids move out of the house. Like when they're little, you're busy physically getting them from point A to point B. Wait till they leave the house, you're busy up in your head, because they're literally, in other parts of the country making adult decisions, doing, like really important things, and you're like, you can't turn your brain off. So different kind of busyness. But
One of the biggest.
every time you think, yeah, I don't have time, or when I have time, whatever, right? Like go check your screen time. It's proof that you did have time. You just chose to give it away to lesser things.
Yep. Lesser things. I need a screensaver. It's just those lesser things.
I'll send you my screensaver, Polly.
That's so good. So tell us about your planner. I would love to see it.
Well, yeah, let me show it to you. And then I'd love to tell you kind of the story behind it. It's this beautiful green vegan leather with a coil binding and this gold foil print and whatever, and some fun, colorful tabs. So my journey started, like I said, I've always been a planner girl. I've always had planners. I've tried all kinds of different ones. I finally found yours and I was like, "Ooh, this is the best one I found thus far."
Yay.
But I knew that as a time, strategist, I was going to need to create my own. So here's what I did, right? I literally went online and I found a random printer and just said, "How much does it cost to print a planner?" That's literally my email to them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can, be like, "Oh my goodness." They sent me back this email with a bazillion questions. And I very quickly realized I did not know what I didn't know. Right? Like, yeah, it was just like, okay, honestly don't know this, right? I had no idea what I was doing. It was going to be wasting my time and theirs, and probably a lot of money, like you shared in your story. And so, yeah, so that's when I found the Dream Printing podcast. It was like, as soon as I heard you talking on there and like, "I'll show you how to print your thing," I'm like, this is my girl. As a time person, I'm like, okay, I could spend all the time trying to DIY it and figure it out on my own. And, and save, the money of investing in the program, or I could shorten the learning curve and let you make the mistakes for me. And
I sure did.
Yeah. So I'm like, that is a much better use of my time than, doing all of that. So the Redeem Our Time Planner is an undated planner. I specifically made it undated because I'm an untime management strategist. I'm trying to like undo our like feeling like our lives are driven by a clock or calendar. And I also wanted somebody to not feel like they were ever behind. Like I want them to pick up this planner any day of the year and be like, today is the day that I'm going to start redeeming my time. Not like, oh, like look at all the parts that I like can't use now because it's already March or April or whatever date it is, right? So I did make it undated for that. And it really is not just about filling in boxes with appointments and to-do lists and things like that. It's really filling our heart with God's truth and creating space to hear his voice and follow where he's leading us in what I call the 8 areas of our attention, which are the 8 areas of our life. And so really it was this way to like put all these resources that I teach on the podcast and in my coaching programs into one place. And my clients have said, "Thank you, Lissa. Like it's all bound together here. I don't have to like find random PDFs and things like that." And people can use the planner without, using my program and things like that as well. But yeah, so I followed your program, and like literally you walked me step by step. And I was just sharing with you, like this time last year, I was in the ideation phase. Right. It was just all in my head. And then you walked me through the design phase. Like, how do I get this down in a way that somebody else could actually do something with it? And I worked with Nadine, who was amazing. Thank you for that introduction. And then the printing. And I used one of your printers, which she was amazing. And it was seamless to work with her and all of that. And then the launch part of it. And what was so cool, and I shared this with you earlier, I had set November 12th, 2024 as my launch date, having no idea if this all was going to happen by then, right? Like that was totally a faith, like by God thing, like doing my best to like, think, okay, if it takes this long to print and this long to ship, I think this is when I can do it. Wouldn't you know, my planner showed up at 4:55 p.m. on November 12th, like 5 minutes before close of business on that day. This FedEx truck shows up and these 2 girls are like, "What did you order? We have like 40 boxes for you." Like, telling them about my planner. And yeah, so anyway, it was so amazing because I literally just did everything you told me to. And it worked.
That's the beauty of it.
It is like in women's hands, like changing their hearts,
So cool. Yeah. Show us what one of the weekly or daily pages look like for reference.
Yeah. So
I'd love to get a little tour.
Yes, I'd love to give you a little tour. I used, it's kind of got similarities to yours. So I've got a vertical spread with dots behind. And then I've got, you can kind of see where there's like white space. So I teach, we have 5 time anchors in our day. I call them refills and pour outs. And so I intentionally made them like different colors. So they were like seeing that time in their head of like, this is what it's time for in this time of my day. Yeah. And again, it's undated. So then they can fill in the dates. And then I've got like a little checklist. So like when you're planning your week, here are the things to make sure that you're putting in your weekly plan so that you're not like, oh, shoot, I forgot that again. So I really, there's a digital course that comes with it. So that way, as you go through, the planning process and the listening to the Lord first, what's the bigger vision and all of that, and then get into the seasonal and monthly and weekly planning. There's a lot of intention around how you do it. And it's now that I have this bigger vision, how does this guide where I invest my time? Right. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to give your time away to all those lesser things and wonder why you didn't get where you wanted to go.
Yeah. The connection between your time and your money is so similar. I remember Dave Ramsey, I did his Financial Peace University. And one of the things he teaches is, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll wonder where it went. And it's the same thing with your day. If you don't tell your day where to go, you'll wonder where it went.
Well, someone or something will always fill it. Is what I say. No one has ever had a minute that didn't get filled with something.
Yeah.
But yes. If you're not intentionally filling it, then it will be filled with something else and may not be leading you towards the roadie, the return on time invested that you really want to have.
So where can folks grab your planner?
Yeah, the Redeem Her Time website is just redeemhertime.com. And that's a great place to go and check it out. And also kind of see, what else is happening. We're hosting an It's Time conference in September for Christian women business owners. We're going to focus on our time and our roadie. Like, where do we invest our time in order to get the 100-fold kind of growth that we're all praying for, right? And we can only do when we're doing it with God. And so I really help women shift how they look at time from the world's perspective of chasing it and managing it to God's perspective, stewarding it.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so fun to hear your story. We're definitely very aligned in our values and mission. What would you say to somebody that's kind of on the fence about joining print school?
Oh, I would say it is worth every single penny and then some, because again, like, your time is your most precious resource, right? And so often a lot of us, we're scrappy and we're like, I can figure this out. Like, I don't know if I want to spend the money. I can do this, right? But it is going to cost you time, and your time is worth something. Like, when you jump into print school and then launch school, you are literally going to you're going to know what you didn't know you didn't know. That's really what it is, like, and really have someone who's going to walk you through step by step, talk about a good return on investment and a good return on time investments. Like, it shortens the learning curve. It walks you through step by step. I mean, it totally is doable. I went from it in my head to in women's hands in, about 9 months. So, when you think about like what this is going to do, and I remember telling my husband this right after launch day, like literally 2 days later, I dropped off the first load at the post office and we were on the road to Florida for a trip that he had to take. And I said, this has felt like birthing a baby.
Oh yeah.
9 months in the womb of like all this time of it, like preparing, and you're looking forward to this date. And then I was like, and now that it's here, I got to keep this thing alive,
Yeah.
But yes, having someone to walk you through like the what to expect when you're expecting, books that we all,
And that's the truth. Businesses are like a baby, I remember when I started Horacio, I remember calling my mom, like walking down the street in New York, being like, oh, I was up late. Like, I had to call the printer and we had to go through something, whatever. And she was like, well, you could be up at night with a baby or you're up at night with your business. Like, it's kind of the same thing. And it's true. Like, when you have this dream, you conceive the dream and then you birth the dream and then you have to keep the dream alive. You have to keep sustaining it. But eventually it starts to grow and starts to become and starts to have this brand and this personality. And then it has a community and a village and it kind of morphs into this toddler. And, when you have a baby business, you have baby problems. When you have a teenager business, you have teenager problems. It's all different. And so it's a beautiful thing. And we know we have some businesses that are in their retirement stage or, in their nursing home stage. Like, businesses have a whole life cycle. Obviously we want to keep our business in like a middle-aged, place. We don't want it to ever go to the nursing home, but and I've learned that from other business coaches too. Like, and so it's good to know what to expect. And when you're you have a blowout, when you have a baby business, it's like, well, that's because you're a baby business and that's an okay baby problem. We don't want to have baby problems when we're a teenager, we don't want to have blowouts when we're 13.
Right.
And so knowing what those are and what to expect and what's normal and how to move past things and things like that and how to learn how to be that problem solver is what it's all about. And you've done such a fabulous job, and I'm just so proud of you. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
I remember you starting us off with like that vision of us like having it in hands, like pulling it out of our bag, like showing it to one of our besties and thinking about what we would be excited about to show them or share with them and what this is going to do for them. And that's exactly what it's done. And here's the thing, it takes time. And so I just want to encourage anyone listening. It is not like this is going to happen in the next 30 days, especially if you're going to put in the quality that Polly really leads us to. Like it takes time, but that's one of the laws of the harvest is that you don't sow and reap in the same season. There is time for that thing to grow, and that's intentional and that's good. And that's why we have to be wise stewards and wise CEOs of how we sow our time, such that we will reap, that 100-fold fruitfulness. So if it's okay with you, Polly, I would love to offer a little gift to your audience outside of the planner, because this way you look at time is what really changes things. It's like, how do I be a steward? How do I be like that wise farmer, right? Who says, this is what I've been entrusted. These are the fields I've been given. And this is the time, the season that I put it in. And so it's called the 100-fold CEO Time Mastery Guide. And it comes with a little coaching video. And I'll walk you through the 7 laws of the harvest. And we all know you sow what you reap, right? Mm-hmm. Which essentially means if you don't sow, you're not going to reap, right? But there are also other laws like, you sow and you reap in a different season. And you will reap, not maybe reap, if you don't give up, right? And so just these different biblical principles that come out of Galatians 6. So the link to that is redeemhertime.com/100, because we're going for 100-fold growth when it comes to our time and our return on time invested. So I'll
perfect. Well, we've got the link right here for everyone to check out. And thank you so much for coming on the show and for blessing us. I know you really inspired me to think more about my time and the way I'm stewarding it. What is it time for? Really thinking about that question to let our shoulders relax. And thank you so much for the gift. This has been a true blessing.
Yeah, well, thank you. I would love to end with this one reminder that I put in my planner, just how like you tell people you are loved, right? You are so loved is like your thing. Mine is you have time. Like, I think the enemy wants us to believe we don't have time, and then it keeps us busy and distracted. And so if you didn't hear anything else today, A, join Polly's, program, and B, you have time. Now the question is, what is it time for, right? That's going to shift everything.
Yeah. Beautiful. Guys, don't forget to check out her podcast. It is filled with wisdom. Check out her free resource below, and you can connect with her at redeemhertime.com.